Once upon a time in a quiet little town, there lived a mischievous, greedy mouse named Gus. Gus spent his days scurrying into houses, hunting for tasty treats. His favorite hobby was stealing bread, candy, and cheese from people's kitchens. His sneaky ways were so well known that folks around town always had something to say about Gus's antics. However, Gus had one big problem: Whiskers, the town's clever cat, who was always watching his every move. Whiskers and Gus had become something of a town legend, with their playful chases keeping everyone entertained. The townspeople, fed up with Gus's tricks, had set traps, but Gus always found a way to escape. One day, Whiskers made up his mind. He was going to catch Gus red-handed. He set up a little cheese trap right outside the biggest house in town, hiding behind a tree to wait. Gus, ever the cheese lover, sniffed the air and spotted the cheese. His eyes gleamed with excitement. "Jackpot!" he squeaked to himself. Just as he went for the cheese, Whiskers leapt from behind the tree. But Gus was quick. He zigged and zagged his way out of Whiskers' grasp. The kids from town who had been watching laughed and cheered as Gus narrowly escaped once again. Whiskers' attempt only made Gus more determined. He came up with a new plan. If he could trick Whiskers into chasing him in the wrong direction, he could pull off his biggest heist yet: raiding the town's cheese supply. Gus made a decoy cheese stash and waited for Whiskers to take the bait. Whiskers, seeing the stash, pretended to fall for it. Gus, thinking he had outsmarted his rival, squeaked with laughter. "Caught you off guard, huh, Whiskers?" But just then, Whiskers pounced from his hiding spot, nearly catching Gus again. Gus, now flustered, barely made it back to his hideout in time. The townspeople, especially the kids, loved watching Gus and Whiskers' antics. Gus, who always wanted more, declared to the kids one day, "I'm going to steal the biggest cheese plate at the town festival." The kids laughed and challenged him. "If you pull it off, Gus, we'll crown you the Cheese King." Gus accepted, feeling even more excited and ready for mischief. On festival day, Gus snuck in through the back door, creeping closer to the cheese table. The aroma of cheese filled his nose, and his mouth watered. But as Gus tried to sneak away with an entire cheese plate, his greed got the better of him. Whiskers was already on high alert and spotted Gus's attempt. He pounced, but Gus made a dash for it, accidentally tripping over a string of lights and sending cheese flying everywhere. The townspeople burst into laughter as they watched Gus scramble away, covered in cheese, while Whiskers playfully chased him out. After the festival, Whiskers didn't scold Gus, but instead spoke kindly. "Gus, you know, greed just gets you into trouble. Why not use your cleverness for good?" Gus pretended not to listen, but deep down, he knew Whiskers was right. Embarrassed, he apologized. Okay, I'll be good, at least for a while." The kids laughed and patted Whiskers, who had become the town hero once again. A few days later, Whiskers fell ill. The townspeople were worried since Whiskers wasn't just a clever cat. He had become everyone's friend. Gus, seeing Whiskers sick, felt a pang of guilt. He decided he would help. Gus scurried to the local healer, a wise old raccoon named Doc, and asked for medicine. Doc gave him some herbs, saying, "Make sure he gets these quickly." Gus hurried back, determined to help his old rival. Unfortunately, despite Gus's efforts, Whiskers didn't recover. When Whiskers passed, the whole town gathered for a farewell. Gus, with tears in his eyes, placed a small piece of cheese next to Whiskers as a tribute. He said, "You taught me so much, even when I didn't want to listen. I'll always remember you, Whiskers." The kids and townsfolk shared stories about Whiskers, each promising to keep his kindness and cleverness alive. After Whiskers was gone, Gus changed for good. He became helpful around town, sharing food and playing with the kids instead of sneaking around. He even earned the kids' respect, becoming known as Gus the Good rather than Gus the Greedy. Every year, the town now celebrates Whiskers Day, where they remember the wise cat who taught Gus, and everyone else, that kindness and cleverness can go hand in hand. Moral of the story: greed only brings trouble, but a good heart leaves lasting memories. The impact of kindness never fades.